Welcome to The Unlikely Executive, the podcast where passion meets purpose. Here we share stories of people who have transformed their lives and the world around them by following what truly drives them. I'm Barbra, an executive coach and mentor for non-profits, and I help people who want to make a positive impact actually do it. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to The Unlikely Executive. With me, Barbra, coach and mentor. And today I've got the privilege of talking to Sophie Livingston, who is the CEO of Little Village. Hello, Sophie.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me on.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for making time to come on today. And how is Little Village doing today? What is Little Village all about? You want to spend a few minutes telling us?
Yes, so we are London's biggest network of baby banks. So a baby bank is not as well known as a food bank, but does something similar, which is we take pre-loved baby clothes and items like cots and buggies and pass them on to families who are struggling to make ends meet. And of course, at the moment, that is a huge and growing issue. So last year, we supported 7,500 babies and young children across London with essential items, anything from baby grows to scooters to toddler beds and buggies.
Wow, 7,500, and that's just in London.
Yes.
And so is Little Village a big charity then? Is that how you do? Because to support 7,500 babies and families, that's quite a high number.
Yeah, and what's really sad is that it's just scratching the surface of the need. So we have a referral form, so families are referred to us every day by professionals, and so midwives, health visitors, social workers, etc. Our referral form, it's a bit like the GP situation. We open it in the morning and we have a certain number of slots, and then we close the form when it's filled up. But that form is quite often closed at 10 a.m. because so many referrals have come through. We're limited by our own capacity. We could absolutely be supporting more families if we had more money to be in more places and have more staff and volunteers doing what we do. And that's our ambition, is to grow to meet that need, but also to talk about the reasons families need our help and the fact that nobody should be in a crisis when they've got young children.
And so I'm presuming that you've got staff to sort of help with the administrative, operational side, and then you've got to be able to get the stuff, the baby collateral, out to families. And London is a huge place, so how does that happen?
So yeah, I think the thing that drew me to Little Village, the thing that motivates most of us at Little Village, is the human side, the connection, the warmth with families. And that's absolutely at the heart of what we do. But actually underneath that is a really quite complicated logistics business, because we're trying to sort of move stuff around and make sure it's in good condition and gets to families, but in a way that it feels like a gift. And we very much focus on passing on items that feel like a gift from one family to another, rather than people just accepting whatever because they're in need. But yes, that requires quite a lot of complexity. We have a warehouse, so we have staff in that warehouse alongside volunteers who help with sorting and processing stuff. If you think about, we're not Amazon getting boxes of barcoded product that you can scan and put in. We get bin bags and shopping bags full of stuff that we've got to process. So volunteers are absolutely crucial to that. And then we have 3 hubs across London that are set up like shops. So families can book an appointment and come in and shop for items and select them themselves. But our volunteers will also pack bundles to go out to families who can't get to our shops. And so we will do deliveries as well. And then the other thing we've added in the last year, which is both lovely but really sad, is emergency bundles on maternity units. So we have emergency bundles for newborns on now all of London's maternity units, which is heartwarming that we know that a mum that has nothing won't have nothing, because we have filled their cupboards with a nicely packaged bundle. But it's also really sad that all those units were really grateful to have that support and keep drawing it down every quarter. So that increase of people with nothing for their baby has been quite stark over the last few years.
Yeah, as you're providing a essential service, time of critical need and vulnerability for the parent and the child.
Yeah, and it's almost like a humanitarian service now, which it just sort of beggars belief in the sixth richest economy in the world, and in London, the capital city. But we do live cheek by jowl with people who are really, really struggling, and it's really hidden. That's what can be really pernicious about poverty, is that people can be really struggling, making really impossible choices, but it's not recognised, it's not seen, and there's a real stigma around that as well.
Yeah. So it's great that you've presumably negotiated with the maternity hospitals or maternity departments that you can have gifts in there ready for the newborns.
Yeah, I mean, what we were finding was midwives were dipping into their own pockets or struggling to find solutions. So I think this is a relief for them. We're relieving the public sector by providing this to them.
Yeah. And before I ask you about your own leadership journey, can I just ask about this complexity of the organisation? Because like you've just indicated, it is like a logistic company, which, you've got the logistics side of thing. And the first thing that came to me was around like the health and safety and the regulations on what you can and can't pass on. And
yeah.
So how, as the CEO, how do you manage that with you? So you've got everybody from volunteers to operatives to working with the NHS, maybe other private people as well. So how do you do it? Sorry, I'm speechless. How do you do it, Sophie? It's not something I'm looking at going into right now, but somebody might be.
Well, I mean, the good news is I have an amazing team. It's not something I could do on my own, and we've grown hugely. So when I started doing this job 4 years ago, we had about 20 part-time staff. We've now got 68, mixture of full and part-time, and we have an amazing director of operations who oversees, the health and safety, the logistics, how does the stuff get into the warehouse, how do we know how much is coming in. We're now getting more sophisticated about weights and weighing what's coming in and going out and tracking all of that. And then it's also because it's a charity, not a business. We have a whole fundraising team, we have a Marcons team, and a volunteering team who look after the volunteers, and are continually recruiting and innovating, because actually the trends in volunteering are that it's decreasing. So we're constantly trying to go out and look at, well, what are the new trends and ways in which you can attract people to volunteer. So we've tested out, alongside our incredible regular volunteers, and we have 750 of those. We also have one-off days for people to come and spend their CSR days from their company, or just to get to know us, to test us. And they may not be able to commit regularly, but it doesn't mean they don't care. So I'm trying to find different ways for people to commit.
So you've got to be both strategic, creative, and very tactical.
Yes,
within the team. So you've got to have all those strengths played out by one or two or several people within the team.
Yes.
And what do you see as your key function as the CEO?
Some of it is a sort of, we're also hybrid. I think that's the other thing, is we don't have an office. So we have an increasing amount of staff who are home-based, working on the sort of behind the scenes functions like marketing and fundraising and finance and things like that. So trying to create and set the tone for that culture is really important. So we do, on a very basic level, but it's a really important grounding part of the week. We have a weekly email on a Thursday, so I've been putting it together today, where people send me their submissions, their shout outs to others. It's the sort of single point of truth, but it's also a way of setting the tone and helping everyone to feel like they are part of Little Village, even if they've just worked in their spare bedroom for the week, or their kitchen. So that's really important. Our values are really important, and we bring the team together 3 times a year to focus on particular issues, but we have really focused on our values, on inclusion, on one of the things we're going to look at next is belonging. What are our codifying the behaviours against our values? So how should we be showing up? What behaviours should we be looking for? And trying to get everybody to set an objective against that, as well as their sort of professional objectives, if you like, their day-to-day objectives. So I do think there's an awful lot of that, but then there's an awful lot of thinking forward. So going beyond the day-to-day, thinking big picture, what's our end goal? Where are we trying to get to? And who have we got alongside us? So, and what have we got alongside us? We're very bricks and mortar as an organisation. So property is really, really critical to us. And we've got, so we're constantly thinking about the length of leases we've got, spaces we've got, where are we going to be, and how does that enable us to plan? And because we're a charity, we've got quite a lot of pro bono space. So there's a level of uncertainty around that as well. So I'm always thinking about that. And then the other thing I've added in to my life has been being part of creating the Baby Bank Alliance, which is a way of bringing together all the baby banks across the country. It's an answer to the question of, is Little Village going to grow outside London? And our answer has always been no, we're committed to London. Our model works in London. And there are amazing baby banks around the country that people are running and founding that work in their community. And so the answer to that question now is we have the Alliance to bring everybody together to share best practice, but also to raise our voices on the issues that families are facing. And I think particularly now, raising those voices with government to draw attention to the fact that child poverty is growing and extremely acute.
And in terms of the people you've got around you and your role, within the Baby Bank Alliance and the sort of need to think long term, is there ever any tension between thinking long term and actually getting stuff done right here, right now?
Yes, I mean, it's a continual tension because we're having to invest our time on the anxiety of property in particular, but other things as well, like what can our income be versus, oh my goodness, we've got a huge number of families that we need to serve and we've got a lot of pressure. So that balancing both is a continual challenge, and trying to, I think I see my role also with our senior leadership team is trying to raise everybody's heads up out of the day-to-day and think about where are we going next. Let's not forget that we have to be cognizant of, in a year's time, in 5 years' time, what is this organisation going to be? And we need to be planning for that.
Yeah. And what do you want to be in 5 years' time, as in within Little Village?
I think we could be, if all the conditions are right, I think we could be supporting sort of 18 to 20,000 children a year. There's a whole load of variables in that, not least money, but it's perfectly feasible. Of course, what I would like is that child poverty goes down and demand goes down. And I had spent a lot of the past year talking about that. What's our end goal? Our end goal is to be a parent sharing network and for there not to be a crisis. But that just feels a bit naive to carry on saying right now. So I think realistically, in the next 5 years, we're going to need to scale, but we're also going to need to scale our voice and our impact alongside families. So working with them to share their voices and stories and experiences, and getting the political will and public will around the fact that growing up in poverty should not be something we are prepared to accept.
Yeah. And what,
so a few small things.
Yeah, a few minor little things. And when you think about the leadership skills that you draw on now, how would you describe those skills that you have?
I'm very big picture, naturally very big picture. So I think I'm quite good at pulling people up to that side of things and horizon scanning and looking forward. I also trust my team. While I like to pull everyone in that direction, I'm not doing it in a forceful way. I want to hear and trust their experiences. I'm not a micromanager. And I am really focused on trying to get the best out of people by giving them room to develop and come up with different solutions. So giving people space. And then the other bit is the values piece. I think you have to try and authentically live the values. I hold my hands up. I don't always manage it, but I think, trying to go and be visible, get stuck in alongside people, try and be on site as much as I can. And when I am on site, be happy to muck in with. Invariably, you turn up at a little village hub and there's a delivery that's just come in. So I always really try and just drop everything and go and help unload a van or what have you, so that I am literally alongside the staff and volunteers and experiencing things in the way they do.
Yeah. No, you're right, isn't it? It's about living the values, being that role model, getting your hands dirty. Well, dirty. Doing
sometimes
the do.
It is.
Let's say doing the do.
Yeah.
And then, but also having the capability of looking big picture, getting people to rise up with you, but not in a forceful micromanaging my way or the highway type approach. Because that's the difficulty of a personality type is enthusiastic, forward focused, visioning, energetic. It's difficult for those who are perhaps more gentle pace, happy to just deal with the here and now. There can be tensions in that, but connecting through the values and being present definitely will support that great team environment. And can I ask you, Sophie, what led you to Little Village?
Well, serendipity, actually. So I've been running a charity that I've been involved in bringing to the UK and growing for about 8 years. And then I left there and was pregnant with my second daughter. And I'm not very good at being pregnant, so I wasn't very well. So I was quite happy to not be working and coping with that. But I'd been tracking Little Village for a while since Sophie, our founder, had set it up, because I knew her a bit through different connections. And I thought, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I wish I thought of this. It's such an amazing, beautiful idea. And she got in touch with me while I was pregnant and between jobs to say, we've got a national lottery grant, which means I can now step down from the board and be paid finally. But we need some trustees. Would you consider applying to the board? And I was very excited and said yes, because I was so enthusiastic about it. So I joined the board, and then classic small charity Sophie was like, we sort of need a chair of the board.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that situation before.
Yeah. So I ended up chairing my first board meeting when I was, 34 weeks pregnant or something. But it's very on brand for Little Village. So I was the chair for a couple of years. And of course, that was partly through COVID, which was an interesting time for us. So I sort of got to know Little Village early on, and then COVID hit, and then we had to pivot within a week to a delivery model, which is actually something we'd always wanted to do, but hadn't had the money to do. So we did make the most of it, but the pressure of that and startup and having 3 small children was so much for Sophie. She'd given so much over the 5 years of getting it going that she said, I need to step away, I need to resign. And my immediate response was, I'd love to do your job. But we did it by the book, and I stepped down from the board and applied along with lots of other people, and was put through my paces by my fellow trustees, which was awkward, but I'm really glad we did that, because I really had to prove that I was the right person for the job. So I have been here in this role for 4 years now.
Brilliant. That's a great story, isn't it? And the fact that you do have to, I mean, people sometimes think, oh, they just got the job because, but actually, if you've been through a thorough recruitment process, and ultimately the board may really like you, but they want the person who can carry the charity forward. And they obviously thought that you were the person, and it just sounds like you're doing an amazing job now. When you were younger, did you always know that you were likely to be spearheading an organisation? Was that your ambition to lead something somewhere, somehow, or what was your ambition when you were younger?
I was always ambitious about fighting injustice, and actually I had to speak at something yesterday. Well, we were sort of doing an intro to ourselves, and we had to bring up do some slides, and one of them was share a picture that shows I knew I wanted to work in the social sector when, and I showed a picture of Nelson Mandela being released, and that's because I'm a child of the 80s. I was really acutely aware of apartheid and the injustice of that, and I really remember that day of him being released, and it just feels like, obviously I work on domestic issues, but just that sense of the world is not a fair place was ingrained in me at quite a young age. And so challenging that has always been a motivation, I think. So that has been something alongside, as a primary school little girl, I wanted to be a ballerina and all of that. But the injustice thing has been there from a really quite a young age.
Yeah. And when you say it was ingrained within you, is that just nature, nurture, choice?
I think it's probably a combination. I was aware of it. I think there were conversations at home and at school that helped to evolve that. But I think it is intrinsic in me that I feel injustice really deeply. Like it is a sort of core. I'm pressing my tummy as I'm talking. It's like I feel it in there.
Yeah.
So that I think that has got to be a nature thing.
Yeah.
That and being very aware of that. But I see with my own children now that we talk about the world, and that you cultivate that as well. Like they have that sense of fairness. I suppose lots of children have a sense of that's not fair. But once that's cultivated and grown, and you can help them to think critically, then you can evolve that a bit more as well.
Yeah. No, thanks for answering that question. And can I ask, what's been the biggest challenge for you as a leader, not necessarily with Little Village, but any place you've worked in the past when you've had to come across or you've experienced a challenge? What's that challenge been, if you don't, and how did you navigate that challenge?
I think all challenges are actually about, there's all sorts of knotty problems that you have to see your way through, but so much of it is about how you hold yourself through those challenges. I think there's an awful lot of holding your nerve, knowing when to make the right call, managing your own emotions, understanding the perspectives of everybody in the room. And I think we really underestimate the amount of work you need to do on yourself to be a better leader, because actually that's what makes the interaction different. That's what makes the outcome different, is how you bring yourself to that discussion or how you hold yourself through that challenge. And there's so often I have to remind myself of, there's a brilliant phrase from Rosa Beth Moss-Cantor, who's a Harvard Business School professor, who says everything's feels like a failure in the middle. And it's so true. Every time I can't see the wood for the trees, I try and remind myself, you're in the middle. That's why it will become clearer. But there's an awful lot of, alongside that, it's holding your nerve and holding yourself that can often be the route through that.
And so when do you think you mastered holding yourself and holding your nerve?
I think it's still a work in progress.
So you've read the books, practiced it a little bit, and used it. But that's it. It's not if I've read the book. I've read the Mel Robbins or Stephen Covey and I'm sorted. It's read those books, think about it, apply it, and it's that intentionality and being aware that there's still work to do, and it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay, because we're never going to be perfect, and the point is about reflecting on it and then thinking, okay, what could I do better next time? And but in a supportive way to yourself, rather than beating yourself up, which I do struggle with. I think that's a woman thing as well, being self-critical. But yeah, trying to continually get better and work on who I am, how I'm bringing myself to discussions and how I manage them and how thoughtful I am, and but also giving myself and everybody else grace. We're also trying to do a lot. So we may not show up in the way that in the ideal circumstances we would do, because we've also got 5 million other things going on and a day of meetings and other pressures that we're trying to manage. So you may not always perfectly manage a process that you want to go through that's a bit thorny because of that. And that's also okay. And I think trying to build relationships with team members so you give each other that space and grace is really important as well.
No, I agree. And just when you were speaking, then it reminded me of, do you have a work-life balance that you're happy with?
I think it oscillates. So I am lucky to have a husband who is very engaged with, we're not in a traditional setup. We share what we do with the children, but he's also running a charity. So we have a lot going on, and how we are doing on any given week depends on what is going on, both with the children and with us. So this week I've had I was out this morning, I was out yesterday morning, he had to take the girls to school. I said to my 11-year-old, they're so funny children, they're just like, why are you going? I said, I'm going to a round table on child poverty, and she sort of looked like, why would you be going? And then she went, is that like the traitors?
Pros and cons if it is and if it is.
Exactly. Yeah. But, I think them seeing that we're both working, that we're juggling, we talk about that. I talk to them about what we're doing. I take them to Little Village to volunteer. They see it. And I think that's also important modelling that I'm not interested in them, but there are other things in the world, and we need to earn money to live in our nice house. That's also important, and they need to recognise that. So, but the balance oscillates. I do various things to try and manage it, like trying to carve out time to walk the dog, which sounds mad, but walking really helps me clear my head. So if I get time to do that, it really helps me to process things. And I think I'm better when I do it.
Yeah. I mean, I always walk the dogs, and sometimes I'm surprised at how little I think and how beneficial that is. Sometimes I walk the dogs and I have thousands of ideas, or have that one thing that I should have done, or the deadline is imminent coming up, and I think, oh, good, I can do that when I get back. So it sort of saves me. And then other times I really don't think of anything, and I find that quite refreshing. So
yeah, because your brain's resting. That's also really important.
If you were going to give the listeners any call to action, what would that be?
A call to action around children in poverty is, it can feel pretty hopeless. And I oscillate between feeling despondent and angry, but there are things that we can all do. And I think that's, if you have felt motivated at all by hearing what baby banks do and it's connecting with you, there are things you can do, from sharing what we're about, to passing on your children's items if you have them, or getting involved in different ways, volunteering with your local baby bank as a volunteer sorting items, or joining the board of a local baby bank. The Baby Bank Alliance has got a map with all the baby banks on it, so you can find your local baby bank. But I think there's always something that we can do to make the world slightly better. And I feel like now, even though there are so many big forces coming at us that we don't have control over, we can be that little light in the darkness, and the more lights in the darkness there are, the better.
Yeah, because if you're feeling that you could be a little light in the darkness but feel slightly nervous, find one more flickering light you can join, and you can be a little bit stronger together, can't you?
Exactly. Yes.
And the rewards are there, aren't they, in terms of like personal satisfaction?
Oh, I mean, there's so much evidence about the benefits of volunteering for individuals who give their time, as well as the organisations and communities that benefit from them. It's definitely two-way. But I also think, at a much bigger picture, that the only way through this is to be together. There's an amazing organisation called Camarados that I love, that is about, they have these public living rooms that are set up for no other purpose other than to create connection with people in their community. And they have a banner that says, the answer to our problems is each other. And I think that's
brilliant.
Amazing. It's an amazing sort of banner, headline, mission, guiding principle for life, really.
See you over there next then, maybe?
Yes, maybe.
Then we won't record that bit, you're all right. And I think listeners would like to know how they might be able to get in touch with you.
You can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I've stopped with X, to be honest, so don't bother with me on there. So I'm Livingstone Soph on Instagram, and feel free to follow or add me on LinkedIn. And then Little Village is littlevillagehq.org for our website, and we have lots of socials as well. So please do get in touch with us and follow us there. And then, as saying, the Baby Bank Alliance is babybankalliance.org.uk.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And we're out of time. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed hearing your story and hearing about the power of the Baby Bank Alliance and Little Village. So wishing you all the very best in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to The Unlikely Executive. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, inspired a shift, or gave you the nudge to step into your purpose, embrace it and take action. Remember to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss opportunities that can transform the way you lead, work and live your life. I'm Barbra Carlisle, executive coach, mentor and trainer. You can find my details in the show notes, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show and about your own journey. Until next time, take that step to be more authentically you, live your purpose, and enjoy making a positive impact.